in all of our products. So if you want to talk about data center stuff, which is what we're talking about today, or if you want to talk about Azure, or if you want to talk about Office 365, I go about 20, 30, 40% deep into that. And then as you want to know specifics about, so how would you deploy OMS? Or what is the specific nuances of licensing on OMS? And then I would pull in one of my partners, Jason Lucas, who manages all the licensing. And then he would pull in also David, who is a cloud architect who can really talk about the plumbing. And one of our goals at Microsoft is if you choose to use one of our products, we want to make sure you're successful. Because if you're not successful, you're not going to use us anymore. And so we're actually on that hook to make sure that what we interest you in, that you're actually successful and can deploy it. So we have a large group in the sales force to really make sure that you understand what the product is. So I think I know most of the people in the room, but for the prosperity of the video, I used to be the CIO over at Bellevue School District, so I have been in most of your roles. Had that role for about 4 years before joining Microsoft. Before that, I was CIO of a large paint company. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. So maybe. So one of the challenges we face in IT today, how many people are looking at hosting some things in the cloud? Actually, let me ask that another way. Anyone using software as a service in the cloud? Office 365, Google, Dropbox, anything like that? So we're already in the cloud. How many people are using Windows updates? Has been using Windows Update since I think it was introduced in like Windows 3.1. That's cloud deployment. So if you start thinking about cloud, and as we move more services into cloud, the probability of security gets much larger. And so there's a lot of things that have new challenges. So there's a security presentation I was doing a lot last year and the year before that talked about our traditional network security. And we built really good castles with moats around them. And at Kelly Moore, we had credit card business, so we had to be PCI compliant. So we had to make sure that we were really monitoring our network, making sure that we couldn't be penetrated, making sure our servers were patched. The problem is with identity today, I want access to my data wherever I'm at. I need to have access to when I'm at home. Our students are accessing stuff that are in their home. Their teachers are. When we're at the library, oh, and I've got this little device in my back pocket. This is my portable computer. And I do a lot of stuff on this. And so identity is now shifted, and it's become 80% of our threats now are around identity theft. And so security begins to take a whole new role. And then how do we manage all this stuff? And that's what actually is the biggest challenge is, I've got this server here, and I've got this cloud service here, and I've got this stuff over here. How do I really see through one pane of glass of what's happening? I'm not going to go through most of this slide, but it's relevant to understand, and I'm just going to build the whole thing out. One more click. It's good to understand what we at Microsoft and how we look at security. So if you think about it, the Windows updates, Windows Defender, which, by the way, Windows Defender back in the day was a second-class citizen in the AV world. Microsoft didn't even use Windows Defender itself. That's changed. We now use all of our products. They are what protects these systems that we go out into the field with every day. We're not using, there's not any other third party on here. And that's changed the way our product teams focus it. So we're actually spending about $1 billion a year on R&D alone to make sure that what we're doing is keeping all of our stuff safe. And if we aren't comfortable using our stuff, how in the world are we ever going to expect that you guys would want to use our stuff? So a big change. So this is our ecosystem when we start thinking about how we're protecting what we're doing. The Cyber Defense and Operations Center is huge, and I'm going to go into some of the things that it's doing. But we also have this unit called Digital Crimes Unit, and they're actually going out in the wilds and finding threats in the wilds and shutting them down. By the way, this whole deck will be available afterwards, and I'll send it to you. So we have the Defense Operations Center, and there's a lot of different branches of the Defense Operations Center. You can have us actually monitor your ecosystems if you want to. So a small school district might say, I don't have a team to do that. So there's a service that we can actually come in and do that monitoring. But things that they're doing is they're really looking at all the threats that are coming in. So as defenders finding things, as we have users logging into our commercial accounts, you know, the MSNs, the Hotmail, the Xbox Live, all those are credentials that are coming in. We have about 35 billion messages coming in into all of our mail programs, whether it's in Office 365 or it's Hotmail and all that. So that's another vector. Plus then we have all these virus definitions. And then, of course, the telemetry that people are really concerned about, oh my gosh, Windows telemetry, right? The thing is, it's not telling me what you're doing, but it's telling me what's happening on this device. So our engineers can say, oh, that Windows OS that we have out there, there's some problems with that. We want to tweak and really refine that. Or that server 2012 that you're running, we know what that looks like healthy, and we can report back to say, hey, there's some anomaly here that comes in threat. It comes into this group, and this group will say, yes, there's a threat there. That's what that profile is. We're actually on Windows Defender, when a new executable comes down on the device, we actually send up the signature of that, and we start cataloging it. So if we ever see that do something bad, we can then quickly get in there and say, yeah, this is something we don't want to see, and we can quickly shut it down. And then our digital crimes unit there's a couple projects they've done. One I really like is Photo DNA service, where they've actually been able to take photos, and so we've actually shut down a lot of child pornography rings because we're able to identify that using Azure machine learning. Because we know what an image looks like, we're able to start now looking across the whole ecosystems of where we see that. The other thing it's done, there's a couple, I'll add those slides into here before I send out the deck. A couple of the bots that we've taken down that were global, where we've worked with Interpol and FBI to make sure they're not out there. Actually, what we do is we subpoena their IP traffic. We route them through our routers. We then detect all the servers that are in line. We take all those down, and then we put in a sync. So all the traffic, the people that have been affected, are now computing to one of our syncs, and so it's not really sending anything until the ISPs can work with them to get the virus off. So we'll pivot to Operation Management Suite, why everyone's here today. I have to give kind of a lead into why this is important and why security is really important. And so what we're doing is trying to help shift the landscape, where today, when you're in a normal IT, what are you guys using to monitor security? Anybody in here monitoring security today? A lot of laughs. But I mean, and seriously, what tools are you guys using? That's with the exception of Salem Kaiser.
Some SCCM compliance.
Some SCCM, right? Yeah, if you're using SCOM on SCCM, is SCOM Operation Manager. It has the ability to monitor servers. Anybody using SCOM on the same SCC or System Center that you're managing your desktops? Okay, good. It's common practice. A lot of people say, hey, I've got the System Center server up, and I'm managing my desktops and my servers. Best practice, if you are doing that, might be time to rethink. Put 2 different System Centers up, because if one gets compromised, the other. Sony hack, system administrator, went to get a free $5 coffee card. Yes, I want that. He had domain rights. He got compromised. They escalated the domain. Domain got to their System Center. Also got to the antivirus, doing both the servers and the desktops. Sent the wiper virus out to every single system. And like that, 8 months later, they were able to recover everything. But System Center. So Operation Manager to manage your servers. Anybody else? Anybody looking at your logs? Security logs? So some districts, what are you guys using to look at logs?
Logstack.
Logstack, yep. Do you ever catch anything?
I don't have time to go through it.
Don't have time to go through it. Common problem, right? Millions of lines of stuff. Do you purge that on a periodic basis?
Yeah, I only keep them it was 45 days, now it's 30.
Cool. So that's tough stuff. And so what we're doing, because we're in this kind of data platform, we're able to slurp that in, use our Power BI reporting tool, and actually make sense of this disparate data and start pulling out indicators. The other thing is, it is software as a service. So with Operation Management Suite, you're just activating it. And then you're just plugging in components. And so, Nathan, how fast did it take you to get OMS turned on and start getting some benefit out of it?
I'd say a few hours. And we had to set up a SCOM server. That was planned. Okay. I think, we set up our virtual server, put SCOM on a gateway with a consultant. I think that was just a few hours, and then getting the agents installed, I think probably a day at tops. And I don't know that you have to have SCOM on-prem for your servers. I think you can do the OMS agent and have it go straight to the cloud. So if you take that out of the picture, it's going to be pretty quick.
So here's how it looks. So we have Operation Management Center. It is a hosted service. It's something hosted in our Azure services. It's able to monitor Hyper-V, running on Linux OS, running Windows OS. It can do VMware as a first-class citizen. Again, Windows and Linux workloads. Actually, in our data centers, 60% of the compute power in our data centers is running on a Linux operating system. And really, any public cloud offering. It's an agent you put on the server. The nice thing is if you spin up servers in Azure, it'll automatically hook it in. But it's an easy deploy to your servers if they're hosted over on AWS or on Google or wherever else you're planning to put servers up on. It also ties directly onto System Center. So if you are using Operation Manager, then you're able to hook that in as well. But it gives you a central pane of glass, and we're actually going to take you through Salem Kaiser so you can actually see what that looks like, and then into a demo site that you can go home and play with, and so you can kind of drill through and see what that really looks like. So there's 4 components of Operation Management Suite. There's Insight and Analytics. So this is really that discovery. So when we're talking about the log files and reviewing that, because that's hard. So I have a lot of universities I've worked with that are using Splunk. And that's great. It bubbles up, hey, I've got this problem. And then I have to go to another tool and remedy that. The nice thing about this is you not only gain the insights, but you can take action directly from that. So yes, I see something's gone awry. And I can now take action and remedy that. With automation and control, you can actually start putting, yes, we have to be this compliant. And if you see that something is compliant, I want to automate that. I want to automatically get these servers up to where they need to be so I'm PCI compliant, so I'm FERPA compliant, so I'm whatever compliant or new regulation has come down. So security threats, giving you a dashboard to look at security. And then lastly, giving a way to protect and recover. So it actually has an engine to go ahead and do backups and disaster recovery. Anyone here tell me kind of the definition between backup and disaster recovery?
Perhaps it's just a backup is some of your data, where disaster recovery is an entire plan to bring the whole thing up.
Yep, good definition. So disaster recovery is, I have a VM. Maybe this, anybody in here from Beaverton School District? So Beaverton School District, right, Steve always tells a story about 2 incidents. Okay, well, the incident where the Ensel system blew and started the platters inside the hard drives oscillating at night, and they come in the morning and unrecoverable. And they had a payroll system that the tapes had only been done incremental, and so we have to restore all the tape somehow, and they pulled a miracle. For years. 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. Yeah, so they got lucky. So what you can do with disaster recovery in this scenario is you can actually snap a VM to the cloud and have it sleeping there. And then upon something happening, you can just then now activate it, spin it up either in Azure or pull it back down to bare metal. So disaster recovery. And then you're right, much further is what is the full plan? How do we test? How do we validate that? Versus backup is saying, I've got this server and there's files on it, and I want to be able to do a restore point for this individual file. So this will manage all of that. So, and I'm probably not going to go ahead and talk through these slides because we're kind of talking through them and I'd rather get into the product. So, yes I will. So, Azure Site Recovery is nice. So this allows you, whether you're using VM, whether you're using Hyper-V, you can snap that. You can snap it as frequently as you want. The costing model on it is reasonable. It's $25 per VM per month, and you can snap it as many times as you want. And then you also do pay for however much storage you're consuming. But storage is like pennies on, I think it's a penny a gig or something along that lines. The nice thing is it just sleeps up there and you can pull it back down. Or in Beaverton's case, where they have a payroll concern, you could spin it up, have it up for 8 hours, 10 hours, 20 hours while you're doing the restore, run it from up here, get payroll done, and then pull it back down and get your on-premise servers. The nice thing about any of the hosted services, we bill by the minute, so you're only paying for compute on a minute-by-minute basis that you need it. So it makes for a nice DR while you pull things back down. You may say that, hey, you know what, we're just going to leave it up there. And the nice thing about Azure is there's 3 copies of your instance in our data center. And then if you wanted to, you can do geo, which would be in 2 different data centers. I don't see any education vendor really doing that. So it is a really cool tool, and it's from the OMS console. You can go ahead and set this up and start it snapping whatever VMs you want to protect. And then lastly, all these are managed through solution packs. So we've got about 30 solution packs in the gallery, and I'll have a list of them on the next slide. And you basically say, yes, I want to do an AD assessment, or I want to do a backup, or I want alert management. I can grab this pack and lay it down. And then you get the immediate benefits of it. And it starts calling into all the servers it's managing and pulls it up into this control plane. So this is an eye chart. This is more for leave-behind purposes. So in those 4 pillars, here's the different packs that exist as of today. Now, Microsoft being evergreen, we're always changing. The reason why I had that whole Defense Center, the Defense Center is using this. The Defense Center is the one who's building these cards. You can also do some of your own. But as they're protecting Microsoft systems, they're saying, yes, this is really useful. And then they're making that available in the catalog for you to be able to leverage. And then lastly, again, this is more for takeaway. When you start thinking about how Microsoft looks at both features, both on-prem and cloud services, point solutions, there's a lot of them out there that do this stuff. And then there's third-party products. You can decide, where's the best fit. And so this is just kind of a review. Let's go ahead and actually show them what it looks like.
Sure. You.
If we could have no pictures, please.
Oh, yes. This is their live environment. So, yes, no photographs of this part. Can you take photographs of the next part?
The camera can't take pictures.
There we go.
It
Okay.
can?
The camera just wipes out.
Okay, so this is our live environment we have for Salem Kaiser Public Schools, warts and all. I'd rather you guys see reality, and we're up against the same thing that you guys are, and that's time, money, resources. And OMS, I'm impressed by the product. I like it. And I'm the one that implemented it with the consultant, and I'm the one that continued to implement it afterwards, learning about it. I'm not an expert by any means. I do recommend the product, but it's up to you and your environment what you think is best. I don't think it's the end-all be-all for security, because security to me is more than just manage systems to monitor events and firewalls and things like that. It's a framework, a management, it's a philosophy, it's education. Security is a lot of things. That said, though, OMS does a lot. It can pull data from syslog, SNMP from your network. It can go to AWS. It can go to Azure. We report on Office 365. So, like, if people access files, they create an inbox rule. It tracks that, and we get that information in here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through the components that are geared towards security. I mean, there's a lot to the product. It really is a suite. And I had a hard time when I was kind of overwhelmed in the beginning myself when I got into this, because trying to differentiate between SCCM Operations Manager and Operations Manager Suite. It's like, okay, what's the difference? Operations Manager is on-prem, it's your server, or servers to monitor your systems. This is what's in the cloud. So I'm going to go through these, and like you talked about, log analytics. So the log search right up here in the upper left-hand corner, that little tiny icon is the basically all the data that you can get access to that's underneath these solutions. And what they do is...
We are struggling with internet connectivity, so...
And all collected data. So up here, this is the query, and these are all of the events, and you can't see it very clearly, but as I gather data from your systems, it has a category of what that data is. So it's very easy to go like SNMP, syslog, or any other
like Windows Firewall. You can go just query that, or you can correlate and query multiple pieces of information together to create your own reports and your own alerts. And you can do runbooks, hybrid runbooks against those alerts. So
What's
like,
a
let's
runbook?
say, what's that?
What's a runbook?
I don't know because I've done it. Well, it's a script. So like, let's say that, one of the things I'd like to do is I just created an alert for more than 5 failed login attempts in 24 hours. I have that for 365 and for on-prem for Active Directory. So we get an alert, gives us the user, gives us the workstation that came from the IP address, all that information. what we can do is create a script to go disable that account, or we can reset the password, and I'll even send an email to the, well, if we change the password, we're not going to get the email, but things like that you can do. You know, anything that these agents that are running on the servers, theoretically, you know, with these scripts, you can probably just do just about anything on this system.
Another good example of a runbook is, going back to your Salem or my Beaverton example, is you can have it monitoring the HR system. It says, oh, HR system's no longer available. I'm going to go ahead and have runbook that goes and spins up the VM, gets the right IP addresses, make the DNS change, and route all the traffic that direction. So it's this playbook that you say, hey, if this event happens, I want you to do this, or I want you to monitor and then do this.
Yeah.
Are those runbooks the same as Orchestrator?
It's just like Orchestrator, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Take our existing ones and shift them.
Exactly.
It's PowerShell based, I'm assuming?
Correct.
So I'm going to come
This
back
is
to
PowerShell, yes.
I'm going to come back to the solutions here. So AD assessment he was talking about, that's important for security. It assesses your environment, the health, but also security, gives you recommendations. And we had a few that we addressed, and then there's some more, you can't really read it, like more minor things that we need to address that really aren't necessarily critical, but it flags it. We have alert management. These are the alerts that we want the system to generate, like antivirus, or if virus is detected on a server. So we're monitoring 140 servers out of our data center. We're also monitoring Office 365 and Azure AD. In Azure activity logs, that's like if one of the admins goes in there and makes a change, it tracks that. The 365, again, what I like about this is it reports on all kinds of activity. And one of the things I want to highlight is, I can't read it, well, like, for instance, there's one in here you can't read it. It's new inbox rule. So we have, you know, how some of the malware, it will write a rule about deleting all their incoming emails and start picking up the address book. Well, if they get infected, now it's through 365, not Outlook, I found out. But if they get compromised from a script and modifies that inbox rule, we have an alert immediately comes to us, and then we go check it out. And we had one like that. So things like that you can do with it. That's the power of it.
The idea is it sends you, Bob?
It's zoom into it.
Change your resolution.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that excluding scripts, or will that pick those up as well?
It's just events. So like right here, transport rules, set mailbox, remove unified group. So it's certain activities. Yeah.
Some
I
of
just
this-
say script because that's probably what they're doing.
Some of this you can get directly from the Office 365 console. If you've gone into the Office 365 console, you'll see that there's a tremendous effort on security compliance to give you that type of stuff. This just gives you a single pane of glass to view at it from here.
Okay. One of the things I just turned on yesterday was DNS analytics. This is kind of giving you an idea how quick you can do something. So you have a solution, and it started analyzing through the agents all the DNS servers, and we had immediately within minutes, we started getting information like bad sites, like it's malware, malicious activity about 5,000. You know, it's something I'm going to let you guys see. I don't know how malicious they are, but this has been going on for probably 30 hours. But one of the other things that it does is that you get the information like this. Domain names queried, you can whitelist those so it doesn't track that. Malicious IPs over here, you can dig down. You can keep drilling down to get more information. Now, most of us probably have web filtering software, so you already have something that has that capability. But this takes it from the DNS query, so all the DNS queries in your network can be tracked. That's, to me, pretty powerful, because web filtering software is more of a block. It will record, but the reason I like it is that one of the things that we struggle with is that we have a fairly large environment. We have 6 DCs, 4 running DNS. that we've for all the clients. And one of the issues was, okay, are any of these servers basically overworked, right? So when you set up your subnets, your DCP scopes, a lot of them primarily go to like our first domain controller. And we have 3 others, so they're probably not evenly spread out. I can go in here, and I can go down this out last night. So this is how easy it is. Somebody like me, yeah, I'm technical, but I wasn't a straight A student. So if somebody like me can go and figure something out by reading articles, I know you guys are gonna be able to do this like a champ. So right here is the analytical log. This is where it looks at the load on your DNS servers. Oh no, that's one more. Give me a second.
So this is the inside and analytic part. And so of the 4 pillars, this is the part that's just kind of giving you insight. The nice thing is in a lot of these, you can then right-click, get more information. On the security and patch management plugin, you can actually say, oh, patch management, I've got the security risk, let's go ahead and patch these sets of servers. Again, it runs that playbook, does all the patching on the servers that are targeted, and then you're up and running.
Anyway, I'll show some of you guys later if you want to see that. So I'm going to go back to the security. We use ACPEnw to patch the servers and to manage endpoint protection. And we've come a long ways from before Bob and I were on the network, where they were in an environment where they were not allowed to patch. They had to have like a week's worth of paperwork and research before they could even put a server patch on. Just ridiculous things. And so we've gone through identifying what we have, what we don't need, cleaning it out, getting the Windows firewalls on, and then now we're doing endpoint protection. The patching was the big thing that we really need to be doing. So right here on update management, before we went to SCCM, instead of it works with WSUS or AD groups, so I had the servers in AD groups. I created a schedule in OMS to patch those servers, and it worked really well. But we're going to SCCM because there's kind of a conflict between OMS and SCCM. So SCCM manages the updates, but this reports. It gets you all of the information. And because it's all one pane of glass, you have all the information coming from all these other sources. That's the power of the product. So one of the things too is malware assessment. That's on endpoint protection. We're a little behind on that, but this is reality because I want you guys to see that we're working really hard with big network where we all have hurdles and obstacles just like everybody else, and nothing's perfect. And with security, you never arrive. You want to arrive, but it's never going to be perfect. And we're kind of in the middle of the road. We're getting better. We're not there yet. Bob and I are not satisfied. So.
But the nice thing is, though, it's that maturity level, right? At least you have a pane of glass to say that, hey, yeah, something's off. And if I go back to that PCI example that Kelly Moore, what we did is every 4 months or every 3 months, we'd have to report and say, yes, we passed this and all our things are patched. Turn in a report, and now great, we're PCI compliant. And it was always that point-in-time inspection. This is giving you that constant inspection to say, hey, what is my current state? What new risks have come out? You don't have to necessarily go someplace else that's used to look and go, oh, I want to know more about that risk, and then you can click into it, and then we'll give you more information about why that's a risk and what impacts it.
We haven't done this, but here's one possible real-world scenario relevant to right now is, I assume a lot of you have heard about the Google Docs virus stuff going around right now, because the DNS information gets put up into there and log in analytics. We could probably define a query and nail it down to what users clicked on those links, and then proactively approach those users and make sure that their Google apps is secure.
One other thing is configuration tracking on your servers. What's happening? Software being installed, services. This tracks all that, so you have a history. The thing is, like you was talking about log management. We have it, but we don't always go in there. And one of the things that I've got to wrap my head around is I've got to have people getting in here on my team, and looking at it every day. It's great to have it running and everything, but if we don't do anything with it, then that's our lost investment and possibly a security issue. The other thing with this product that I like is the security baselining and assessment. So security and audit, what it does is it collects from the servers the event log, security event logs, the Windows firewall logs, and we have advanced threat analytics systems running on our network. It captures that, and it also captures stuff from our ASA firewall through syslog. We have a Linux box running syslog on it, forwards it to the Microsoft OMS agent, and then it goes up to here, and then it combines that data. It's a solution they have. Well, it's a solution or kind of something they create where it grabs the events and it puts it in with the threat intelligence that they're using, and I'll show you that in a minute. So you have all of those sources of security that are being collected and put up here and being correlated with their solutions. As you can see right here, identity and access accounts attempted to log. That doesn't mean that they're attempting to log in. That's 18,000 login events, and I think that's by hour. When you look at the numbers up here, I don't care what your environment is, we're all the same whether you're large or small. We all have AD, SQL, probably using 365, Azure in the cloud. Size doesn't really matter. You know, I'm gonna have millions of records, some sites might have tens of thousands. But the thing is that this brings visibility that you don't have every day. And that's one of the things when I started, I was talking to my team, I said, well, we need visibility on the network, and I was thinking IDS type stuff, and they had that, and didn't really work, and they kind of dropped it. It was a waste of money. Not that it's a bad idea to have them. This goes to a system level, and it's Linux or Windows. In fact, like ASA and other systems, I can even grab custom logs from any system I want to, probably, and pull it up here. So it's very extensible, and it's easy to set up. And like a lot of things with Microsoft, it's very easy to get going. You can stay at a high level. You can get really deep in the trenches and become a real advanced user. And that's where you find the power.
And the defense center that I was talking about earlier, they're really helping us define what this is. And because we know what a healthy server looks like, because we have we own a lot of that server technology, and we know what healthy databases look like, we're able to really classify and get that built up and displayed here.
So I'm going to show you the threat intelligence. They got this going fairly recently, because when I had the ASA event log events where we deny like IDS attacks and stuff like that, it was reporting, but it wasn't tied into threat intelligence until a few months ago. But bear with me here. So over on this side,
Which should be a little alarming if anyone's really catching what that screen is showing you.
yeah. We had so many denied connections to our firewall that we also use Orion in our network where we have syslog events going. If anybody knows about Orion, syslog is not a great way it doesn't do well storing SQL because there's a lot of empty space. And I had to reduce the amount of the logging levels because of Orion. I still get a fair amount of temps up here, like as you'll see up here, that's over 5,000 C2 and botnet attacks from around the world. Most of the time they're from the US. Most people think, oh, it's going to be China or India or someplace, and that could be, but it's also the US.
Over what period of time?
That is 24 hours. Yeah. And when I had the event logging from the firewall, when I had the syslog levels coming from a lower level, I had millions of events. I mean, it's amazing. Like I had to create an alert where it was like, okay, if I have 5,000 denied events from a certain IP, then send me an alert. It was that many coming. You're not looking at the firewall going, oh wow, what's going on? It's just taking care of business, you hope. But then you throw it in here and you kind of going, wow, And this is nothing compared to what it was showing before. But this is the kind of stuff that we're able to do. So it tracks failed logins, successful logins, the client IP, you know, what you're going to see in the Windows event logs, in your IIS logs, all that stuff, it's going to come up and be put up here. So it just puts in one spot.
Cool.
Thank you. Oh, and they have a mobile app too, which is nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
On all platforms?
iOS first. We divide so iOS first,
Yeah.
then BlackBerry, and
Yeah.
then this lonely device called a Windows Phone. Although maybe with the Windows S that was just announced, maybe we'll start seeing some more in our suite.
Perfect is using Raspberry Pi.
Set your bag and you're good to
Yeah.
go.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the pricing. I do have some pricing slides on it. What I do want to say on the pricing, first off, a lot of it is Azure based, and our pricing keeps changing, and it keeps changing for the better. We're in this race to the bottom with Amazon, which is a great thing for you guys, right? So our pricing is always changing. Things can be purchased. This price sheet here is if you already licensed System Center. And then the next tab is if you haven't licensed System Center. So it depends on what your license looks like. You can decide what you're doing. Per node is per server. Couple of things over here. Let's say you just want to do the log analytics. So then it's a dollar amount per gigabyte of data you're pulling in. And then you get that use of Power BI on top of it. Process automation, I want to just use that, because, and I'm going to use that with the Azure Site Recovery. So I'm going to have process automation kind of watching to see for an event that then, that site recovery, I'm going to go and enable it and spin that VM up. So I put these slides in because they're always a conversation, but the better thing to do is, and you'll have to get my contact in afterwards, is I would pull Jason Lucas, who's our specialist, and we've actually walked through what your scenario looks like and make sure that we've really helped you fully qualify what that costing would look like. So this slide is just now if you are just, I guess I should talk about two other ports on here. Same with the other slide. So this is what it is if you don't have System Center and you're just licensing up in the cloud. So yes, you're right. You can just go OMS all up. The other thing is we have two different suites. So you can pre-buy, and Salem Kaiser pre-bought what they were going to use. We also have, because this is part of our Azure services, when you use Azure services, you're actually making a deposit into your Azure bank account. And then as you spend against that account, and I think everyone in here is an ES customer, and if you're buying through OETC, you're definitely an ES customer. Part of the benefit of that is as you spend against that bank account, let's say you put $1,000, well, minimum commit is $1,300. But I'll just say, you put $1,500 into that bank account. As you're spending against it, once you spend beyond that $1,500, then OETC would bill you on a quarterly basis just for whatever you used over. I don't like the term over because there's no penalty. It's just once you spend beyond, you just make the commit. That allows us to get your enterprise agreement tenant up, and then you spend against that. So there's an a la carte mode where you can just spend against your bank account, or you can pre-buy. And then anytime you pre-buy, there's upfront discounts because we can forecast. We know you're using this service. The same thing goes with Azure as well. So if you ever spin up a server, you know that, hey, I'm going to put my Azure, my ADFS server or service up in the cloud. It's about $450 a month. They get 2 domain controllers, 2 web servers, 2 ADFS servers. It's about $450 a month. You can pre-buy those servers ahead of time for the whole year, and that dramatically reduces down the cost. But these are things that I like to pull in our licensing specialists if you have a need, so we can really cost out for you and make sense of it, more so than I can just do on the slide. The last thing I want to make everyone aware of is, and I'll take us to this site here in just a second, you can go to microsoft.com/OMS, and you can actually try this for free yourself. And let's go ahead and move that slide. This is going to take a couple minutes because I'm just going to go ahead and go through the whole process. If I was you, you can do one of two things. So you can come to here, you can get you can activate a free account, and this would actually go against your own environment. You can actually do that, and it would give you a $200 credit for Azure. And if you've never gotten an Azure credit before, that's an option. The other thing you could do if you wanted to do that, you could set up go to Outlook.com, create a bogus email account. So I did that before, CA Suite-ACPE, and then I started setting this up. I hit a snag last night, but that's just because of my connectivity. But if you wanted to see it in action, you click right here, sign up for experience, and I'll just go ahead and pass all my information. Doesn't really matter. This is a little marketing thing. I'm going to get started. Download the PDF. That's going to give me an info sheet on those services. But more importantly, and I don't really care about that PDF, I want to get into this dashboard. This dashboard, once it renders, it's been preceded with a lot of information in every one of those solution packs. So you can actually drill down these solution packs and see how they work. And just going to show one other thing, which is just for awareness. There's updates. Update manager. So there is this Windows updates, and this is just for awareness, and there's supposed to be another dashboard here, which it looks like I don't have deployed here. Anyone upgrading to Windows 10? In the process of upgrading to Windows 10? We actually provide this tool for free for Windows updates. And so you can actually use OMS to monitor all your Windows updates. Talk about that telemetry. We know the telemetry coming out of your ecosystem as those systems are registering. We can actually expose that to your system administrator, so you can actually use this tool. I'll include that in the packet of information we send out, so you'll be able to get that. But just as awareness, you'll be able to kind of kick the tires on OMS just through the Windows update as well. But anyway, this is a good place, at least, what does it look like with some static data that we preceded, so you get kind of a sense of what's there. It's better than sitting here in this hot and stuffy room and going, that looked good, but can I really touch it? So that's a way to touch it. The rest of the deck is more informational. So it's being used a lot. Sorry, I can be. A little case study on how Purdue's using this. This talks just a little bit about the Azure Monitoring Commit. If you're interested in Azure, that's a whole nother conversation. A lot of getting started reference links that you'll be able to attach. Some gotchas in what we've seen that people have made some mistakes. Sometimes you can put a whole ton of data, and then you keep putting data and you never purge data out. Remember, we're charging you for storage of the data, so that's something to be aware of. So we put some healthy tips that we've seen that some of our honest customers have stumbled into, so we want to make sure that we're kind of bringing attention to here's some best practice. Again, it's your service, right? It's not our service. We can't get into your Azure subscription at all. You have the keys to that, and so we can't manage or monitor what's happening necessarily in that ecosystem. So this allows you to do that, but we're giving you the same set of tools that we use for our own systems. And then lastly, if you have a phone, you want to grab this. This will take you to a Microsoft form that you can fill out, and it'll put you on my mailing list, so you can say yes or no. Actually, all of you will get a friendly email saying, hey, I would like to add you to my mailing list, and if you don't, then I will remove you from my list. I do send out a monthly newsletter trying to keep people up to breast with what's happening in Microsoft. And then you've got Nathan's and my email addresses on here, so if there's any post follow-up questions that you have, please reach out to us. And then kind of open the floor for questions, thoughts about this, about anything.
Do you find you have to clean any of the data? You've got automation scripts, different things that are using. How do you filter out some of that content to ensure you're only seeing what users or staff are going in?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, like the events for like syslog, you can filter that out. The security baselining, there's a couple different levels that you can filter by, the kind of more higher level settings. And sometimes there's going to be more information you need, and that's where it comes into the queries that you build. And the nice thing about the queries is that you can go to BI, you can go to Excel, download it, and so there's a lot of ways to parse and look at that data. So yeah, and there are other settings, but if you want to get security information, you're going to get all the IS log stuff.
thinking like you're saying, box rule, for example, we do that for specific job titles or whatever, right? So
Yeah.
we have automation scripts that when we hire somebody that matches that, then we reach in and create those for them. So
Okay.
trying to think of like how we filter some of that content while still pulling in the stuff that we want.
Yeah.
Wasn't sure if it's just a blanket shoves everything up, or if you can set up rules that determine what content actually
Oh,
gets.
good question. I mean, I'm not basing on it, you know, and I'm pretty much using it out of the box. And I would recommend collect more data than you think you're going to need, you know, because again, the queries and the runbooks are based, you know, if you base them on the queries, it's how you write those queries to filter in the way that you want, so that you can achieve that. I mean, does that make sense? So I would rather grab everything and then work on queries, because you might need something later on. I don't know.
That's the key with OMS. You're shoving all of your data out
It's
there,
a data
and
warehouse.
let the solutions do that filtering and stuff for you.
As long as you don't exceed the data, right? Or 500 meg or whatever per day.
Well, you can exceed it, and then there's just an expense there. But if it's relevant data and it's showing you stuff, it's probably worth that, and our data storage rates are really small. Just,
How long has this product been out?
OMS we announced it about a year ago.
So
It's been live for at least a year for education. Before that, it was available for the consumer space, and it came out of our defense center, so they were using elements of it. So it's been in play for a while. But
So-
viable product for a while.
ADT, ATD,
ATA?
Advanced.
Threat
threat
analyst?
detection, the Windows Defender, the
Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection for Windows Defender should actually feed up into this as well. I don't know if there's a support pack for that yet or not. I know that is a different portal, but I believe I'd have to double check to see if there's a support pack for that.
when you pick this up, did it replace any products that you were previously using?
No, we still use all the products in place. So not that we aren't going to phase them out. Like we have AD audit, and there's things that AD audit does that OMS doesn't do. Like I think it, and it might. You know, like groups being added, modify that kind of stuff. You know, really we've only been running for about 6 months, and you know if it can eliminate some systems and save us money, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the cost savings, there is either you're replacing, or in some scenarios where, you know, and this comes more into the university model where they have stuff in AWS, they have stuff in Azure, they have stuff on premise, and they want a single pane of glass to manage that. That's actually, they're saving them time, right? So they haven't offset any product. But then the backup and recovery, so, you know, maybe you're buying Commvault or something like that, you may be able to leverage this, that might save you money or not, and you have to reach out and figure out the total cost of ownership there. But we can help you do that, and we have those calculators. Other questions? Any questions non-OMS related?
What do you like the best?
What do you like the
Use
best?
the top 3 things about this. You're like, you know what? I love this for blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Well, ease of setup, ease to run is once you get it going. It's just there's been a few problems, but it's up at the software as a service. But usually they correct it within 8 hours. But nothing's been a showstopper. So I'd say ease of use, not having to do a lot of maintenance. And the other thing is just how much information is in there, and how you like the ASA firewall coming in and tying that with threat intelligence. I think that's huge because we don't have like the IDS add-on per se. We just have what's built in the ASA at this point. So there's things that like that surprise me. Like DNS Analytics, they came up with a solution just recently. They come out with, I'd say, a solution every few months, and it seems like, and they're pretty powerful. They're easy to get going. I don't know if that answers your question.
The most valuable information. So the threat component,
Security.
Anything else?
So yeah, and that's a good
Patching, yeah, that and the security baselines, it does the assessments, and then it correlates that data and gives you an assessment of what's going on. So that's the biggest piece.
So the question over here came up was 3 months cadence, is that our cadence? It's actually on just as we find things, we're going to roll them out. We're no longer in these block cadence timeframes. We are going to normalize Office and Windows to coming out on a 6-month cadence. But with Office, for example, there'll still always be monthly updates because we know that there's features and things that users are struggling with that we want to fix. Because we have a whole organization focused on security and management, as they see tools that they think are relevant, they're going to make them exposed here. And it's easy for us to lay that down now because we have a structure or a framework that we can do that.
Can you control anything from the system?
today that controls a little light. With Runbooks you can control, you can and then put down, and you can do event triggered stuff, and more is coming into it.
Unless you do Windows updates, and then you can't use Runbooks anymore, because they're being used for Windows updates. I'm sure that's a bug Microsoft's working on.
So it's coming more into that. So phase one was really kind of give you a glimpse of what's happening in the kingdom and being able to execute some stuff, and then more features for more automation is coming.
Now, does the Windows Update component actually have maintenance windows or anything?
Yeah, you create schedules. Like I created AD groups, and it put the servers in those groups, and did that based on how I want to schedule those out. And then I created a schedule to those groups in OMS, and then that's how I did it. So I kept it as simple as possible. So I had like 5 different groups. Like I would do 5 of our DCs one night, and the primary I would wait. For instance, so if there was a bad patch or something, is to have the main domain controller operable. So I did things like that.
Cluster aware updating work through that as well? Or?
Can't remember. I'm not sure. I don't think so. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I've read once that it supports the cluster aware.
Does it?
So you know how SCOM can do like management packs and pull in third-party like switches and UPSs and all that stuff? Is the future of OMS to be that as well?
That's a great question. I don't have an answer for that yet.
Okay.
My guess, now this is Carl's slightly educated guess, is more and more is going this direction. So as our customers move, and again, we're really supportive of a hybrid cloud strategy. That is our special sauce because customers haven't moved all to the cloud. So we're really supporting both. And just like if you're using an Exchange hybrid server, if you moved everything to the cloud, you still have that hybrid server because it's able to do some management against your OUs, which you can't do today 100% in the cloud. Those features are slowly coming into the cloud, but we're developing that and bringing our customers along as we do that. So my guess is, long term, it's all going to be controlled up here. But we don't want to break things while we do it. So.
Yeah.
And you can add in an SMP relay so that that information is being put up into log analytics, build your queries, your alerts, and you're achieving a lot of what SCOM can do.
Yep.
But since it's not there, we keep SCOM on-prem so that we can do that stuff.
Well, super. Any other questions? Thoughts? Was this useful?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming. Shannon Blankenship, my partner in crime on the classroom technology side, and I will be up at the booth later on this afternoon. Answer any other questions you have.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's warm in here.